Good afternoon and welcome to the Preservation Association of Lincoln. My name's Eileen Burkt and I'm the coordinator of this brown bag. Our videotaping today is sponsored by the Preservation Association of Lincoln. Our speaker today is Laurie Richards. Laurie is the Eastern Field Representative in partnership with the National Trust for Historic Preservation. She's working with Heritage Nebraska and with the Wilson Foundation for the Partners in the Field program since 2009. And this is a 3-year program. The partners are the first responders or the boots in the field for preservation issues. Our talk today will be on the 2011 Heritage Nebraska Annual Preservation Awards. Please join me in welcoming Laurie Richards.
Thank you, Eileen, and thank you, Pal, for this opportunity to talk to you today. This is really fun, and anxious to share information about Heritage Nebraska, which is our statewide citizens, not-for-profit membership organization. I am the Eastern Field Rep, as Eileen indicated, working in partnership with the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Jean Morris is my counterpart from the McCook area, so we split the state down the half, and I'm the Eastern Field Rep and he the West. Our mission is to celebrate our history through advocacy and education, outreach, preservation, and stewardship of our heritage in order to build stronger communities and maintain the essential character of the state. So we do a number of things for advocacy with preservation-based revitalization with local, county, and state officials, with sharing case studies and best practices. We educate by teaching others the importance of the built environment as envisioned in the historic downtown commercial core, neighborhoods, barns, churches, and schools. And we help organize groups of individuals to reach a common goal by addressing single issues or developing trends. We adhere to using appropriate resources and tools to apply education to the actual renovation, restoration, or saving of historic places of the built environment, cultures, and events. We promote proper use of both the built and natural environment and recognition of the interdependence between them. We practice this focus through programs like Saving Places That Matter, and these places help us tell the story of who we are and where we've come from and why we're here. So today I'm going to present to you our awards banquet presentation that happened earlier this summer in July. And this is one way of us sharing with all of you the activities that abound throughout the state relative to historic preservation and saving places that matter. We also have part of our activity includes the Hidden Treasures and Fading Places program, and so we will also go over those today for our 2011 list. Our 2011 Preservation Awards ceremony took place this year in York, Nebraska at Chances Are, and it was a very fun and gala event. About 180 people attended, and families and friends and Heritage Nebraska members from all across the state. We had a very, very nice evening. Our first 5 awards that we presented at our event, our Preservation Awards, included the Education Award, Outreach, Stewardship, Noteworthy Projects, and Young Preservationist. The first recipient of the 5 awards went to Roxanne Smith. Roxanne, many of you know, of course, is the voice of tourism of the State Capitol building. And Roxanne is a joy to have a tour with. If you ever get that opportunity, don't pass it up. She knows probably more about the state capitol than anybody, except for maybe Bob, but I'm not sure. And Roxanne is just a joy, and we're so happy to have her as a liaison to the state of Nebraska and for our beautiful, beautiful capital. And here's Roxanne receiving her award with J.L. Schmidt, our executive director, and Roxanne and Dan Worth, board member. Everybody's surprised. Our second award went to Restore Omaha for our Preservation Outreach Award. This award recognizes individuals and organizations who engage citizens of Nebraska in historic preservation activities and programs. Restore Omaha also had a wonderful event this last fall, 10-10-10 in October, which was visiting 10 locations in Omaha on the 10th of October as a fundraiser, and it turned out to be a nice opportunity for Restore Omaha. Basically, Restore Omaha works with an annual event of that name. It's a workshop for homeowners and preservationists, as well as these other activities. This year was the largest conference yet, with hundreds of residents and learning about the best practices of grassroots level educational sessions and demonstrations. The conference also included noted speakers such as Bob Yap for traditional building arts and Donovan Ripkema, who you see here, who preaches preservation-based economic revitalization. And these are the two people representing Restore Omaha. I'm showing these parts of the slides too because the face of preservation does have a face. It is people. It certainly is our built environment as well as our natural environment, but it is all about people and people that actually are involved and help make things matter, or make things matter and help things happen. The Preservation Stewardship Award this year has gone to our Nebraska State College system, was honored. And those are the three campuses of our state college system: Peru State College, such as the library here, that was an old gymnasium, and then the former library became the Academic Achievement Center, as you see here. And on to Wayne State College. This is Pyle Hall, which is a residence hall, and Nyhart Residence Center, renovated in '04, and Connell Social Sciences, converted and renovated in '01. And also on to Chadron State College at Sparks Hall, renovated in '07. The old admin building, renovated in '08 and '09. And on to Edna Work Hall, a residence hall with suite-style rooms, renovated in '07. All of the Chadron buildings are in a registered historic district on campus, which is what they have stepped up to the plate to do. Historic preservation ethic is really well emphasized at the college state system, with each of the campuses and everyone from maintenance personnel to top administrators appreciating and recognizing the historical significance of the buildings and the grounds. And this is Vice Chancellor Ed Hoffman receiving the award on behalf of the state college system. The next award is the Preservation Award of a Noteworthy Interest, which is the Nebraska State Capitol Masonry Restoration Project. I think we'll probably all go on talking about this project for as long as we live, which we should, so that our families can remember it and the rest of the state understands it as well, that 16 years later, after a lot of hard work, and a lot of meetings, and a lot of scaffolding, and a lot of dust, and a lot of limestones being moved around, and pieces of the architectural elements being carefully lifted and cradled and stored away while other work could be done, and acres of copper roof, we have the beautiful Nebraska State Capitol to last for generations to come. Accepting the award here is Tom and Bob, and JL and Dan. Our next award this year, of our 5 preservation awards, our last one goes to Chase Becker. Chase Becker is a young man from West Point, Nebraska, who has been really involved in getting a lot of things going in the area. A particular interest that he has accomplished recently was saving the old city auditorium on the main street of West Point. Chase went to the city council in the 11th hour and made an offer and a proposal, and it was accepted, and the building is standing now. It has been is being restored, and it's beautiful. It's where their community thespians and players have their acting, and also concerts and community events happen there as well. Chase also is very well-knowledged in the field of liturgical architecture and has pretty much photographed all of the churches, the rural churches particularly, across the state of Nebraska, and has a great database of these wonderful rural churches. In April of this year, he gave a tour of the rural churches of Ames County. And here he is, I believe it's at Christ Lutheran Church outside of Hastings. But he's just impassioned with this wonderful feeling and sense of the beauty of our rural churches and what they have meant and what they continue to mean to our rural communities across the state. and I think this is St. John's Lutheran, or St. Paul's Lutheran, and I love the idea of all the cork up in the ceiling, I suspect for acoustical activity. And this was built, I think, probably after the war, somewhere in the 50s. So that was a wonderful tour that Chase took us on in April. Here are the 30 people from the communities that joined us, and they're all hopeful and interested in finding new uses for some of these churches as demographics change, and what participation and activity can happen in these rural communities to help save these churches and these wonderful buildings. They are places that matter. They do mean something to us, and they are part of our heritage. And Chase receiving his award. Also, Heritage Nebraska lists hidden treasures and fading places. Our Hidden Treasures and Fading Places list is much like the National Trust for Historic Preservation's 11 Most Endangered and its dozen distinctive destinations. So it's Nebraska's way of bringing this information and these sorts of locations to our citizens. The fading places are those endangered places that are suffering from neglect, inappropriate or inadequate use of economic or environmental factors out of control. And the hidden treasures are those gems that you won't find advertised on the tourist brochure racks at the interstate rest stops or the local tourist attractions, but they're certainly worthy of mention just the same. So our first recipient of the Fading Place, or recognition of Fading Place, is the Superior Auditorium in Superior, Nebraska. This building is also a 1913 building, much like our National Trust 2010 11 Most Endangered building on the list, the Industrial Arts Building, built in the same year. This city auditorium is a wonderful example of Art Deco architecture and reflects the spirit of the community. The City of Superior is currently looking for resources and funding that will help much-needed renovations. The building sits vacant for now. The jail in the basement, a 400-seat auditorium, wonderful glazed tile in the entrance to the lobby, glazed brick and block, some modernization with a wall-hung heater, it looks like, and some inventive electrical activity. You typically seen in many of our 80-year-old buildings across, 100-year-old buildings across the state too. And this is the outside porch balcony on the second story. So we wish the City of Superior a lot of luck with their fortitude in trying to save that building and use it for a community center. The next listing that we have on fading places is our Madison School District, number 48 in Madison, Nebraska. This school was built in 1877, and it is said to be the last one-room schoolhouse in Madison County. While we don't advocate moving historical buildings from their original locations, this one, was endangered and needed to be relocated, so it's been moved to the Madison County Fairgrounds to ensure its longevity and provide an educational attraction for young and old alike for years to come. And these are the folks that nominated the Madison School Building and are receiving their award. Teachman Graveyard is another example of history across the state of Nebraska for places representative of rural cemeteries and burial places. Such graveyards are often owned by residents that are out of state, who are maybe not too in touch with the rural community or the county where these cemeteries and burial places are. They're out of the public eye, they're out of the public mind, but they certainly are rich with history, particularly the ones that we do have, which are several, that are the last resting places for Civil War era soldiers and other prominent residents, of course. Teachman Cemetery is representative of this very much larger group of neglected statewide places that matter. So our places of the fading places that are on our list they stay on that list until there's been some movement to try to find a reuse or a new use or to save them from total obliteration. The Lee Card Barn is representative of our farm and ranch barns statewide. The Lee Card Barn is in Dawes County in northwest Nebraska. It is now owned by the Dawes County Historical Society, and we and they hope it can find continued life as a working hay and horse barn, which it has been successful to this point. The barn and others like it are often, as you well know, considered to be in the way in some of our rural areas and are sometimes used for firefighter training or taken down for that nice weathered barn look that has been and can be popular in decorating interior and exterior. So we hope that the Lee Card Barn in Dawes County with the Historical Society can also continue to have a good use into the future as well. A lot of history there. Our next fading place recognition is the Dupee Music Hall and Franklin Academy in Franklin, Nebraska. This was a very active location at the turn of the last century. In the Midwest in the 1900s, there were 6 congregational church academies, and the Franklin Academy was one of those. There were several buildings at this location in the City Park area that were part of the academy, and now all that's left is that monument and the old music hall, the Dupee Music Hall. The location was a college prep school, and its presence helped put the south central Nebraska community of 1,000 people ahead of other small towns in the area. It represents a time when more than 10,000 people lived in the county in the 1920s. The building, just from external observation, side observation, looks to be in very good health at this time. The roof looks good on it. The eaves looked good. The foundation looked to be fairly intact. Not able to get inside of the building at this time. It's locked up, and it's not really used for anything substantial. So it's basically in storage in the city park. There are a couple of other buildings in the city park that are stone buildings that I believe were done more toward the 30s, and they've been modified and changed to such a degree that you may not recognize them to accommodate maintenance machinery and vehicles for the city park. And here's the person receiving the award for the Dupee. And now we have our hidden treasures. These are the places that are probably off the beaten path, but we think are certainly well worth knowing about. Our first hidden treasure recognition is the Cody Park in Nemaha County. I don't know if any of you have had an opportunity to travel much of southeast Nebraska, but Cody Park is this wonderful setting that has a stone chapel and a recreational hall, a reception hall, and as well the cemetery itself with family. And Richard Coriel and his wife and young son began homesteading in that corner of Nebraska in 1867, the year we became a state. And in 1934, the extended family's vision was to create a park out of this setting as a memorial to the family. So it's a really wonderful little spot if you get an opportunity to go down there. Don't hesitate. And the two receiving that. Our next hidden treasure is the Beatrice Carnegie Library. Many of you are familiar with this building. It has not been used as a library for a number of years now in Beatrice, but it is one of the original 69 Carnegie libraries built in the state of Nebraska between 1901 and 1922, I believe, when Nebraska received about $720,000 from the Carnegie Foundation to build libraries across the state. This is a wonderful example of the Beaux-Arts tradition that became popular or more popular in this part of the country because of the 1898 Trans-Mississippi Exposition in Omaha. Of course, everything made out of plaster and horsehair at that location. This is a much more substantial example of that architecture. The city of Beatrice is in the process of renovating this building, and they are hoping that it will become city offices and also the chamber and tourism for the city of Beatrice. The first floor will be a art exhibition area, and a community gathering place. So we're very hopeful that Beatrice will be able to continue on with that. Here's Lorraine Riedersall receiving the award. Our next hidden treasure is the Ames Avenue Fire Station in Omaha. The Ames Avenue Fire Station in Omaha is now owned by Habitat for Humanity. They are hoping to make their offices out of this space. It is at 2204 Ames Avenue, and it was built in 1938 during the WPA project of the New Deal program, and Habitat for Humanity feels pretty strongly that they'll be able to put together the resources needed to make this their new home. So we're certainly anxious to see that move forward and certainly encourage that for them. Saving a building that matters. And there's our recipient representing the Habitat for Humanity. We also included historic Brownville. Historic Brownville on the Missouri River. Many of you have been there. All of the buildings are absolutely, most of them have been restored or are in the process of being restored, not only on the downtown, on the main street, but throughout the residential area of the hills of Brownville. These buildings were constructed in the 1850s. And thanks to the ongoing efforts of the community, they still stand there for us today to go have lunch, to go look at books, to get some flour or honey at the mill, and to go to musical activities. And we're so happy for Brownville, the city itself, and it's just a great little corner spot to drive to on a Sunday or a Saturday afternoon as well in Nebraska, down in the southeast corner of the state. The next location we have on Hidden Treasures is our Fort Hartsuff State Historical Park. Fort Hartsuff State Historical Park was active from 1874 to 1881, not very many years, of course, during the Plains Indian Wars activity. It was popular as a social center for people in the community at that time. It was an area for settlers to go and trade their goods, buy goods, find work, and for socialization and activities. This fort was pretty much the heart of the Sandhills in Burwell at that time. The park is still operated by Game and Parks, and I think the hours may have been limited a little bit, perhaps, but it's a wonderful, wonderful park to go to get a sense of what Nebraska offered in the 1870s and 80s relative to the westward expansion. Bonnet Creek skirmish site and the Montrose Township and fortification are in Sioux County, Nebraska, in the northwest corner of the state. This location is within the Oglala National Grasslands. It has great significance relative to a skirmish that happened there about 2 weeks after the battle at Little Bighorn. This skirmish included a couple of different companies from the 5th Cavalry, I believe, and also it was the Northern Cheyenne that were hoping to get back to the west to catch up with the others who had fought at the Battle of Little Bighorn. And in the process, there was a skirmish, and Bill Cody was involved at this because he was a scout at the time. There was one warrior, a Cheyenne warrior who was killed, and Yellow Hair was his name, and he was scalped by Buffalo Bill at this location, and Buffalo Bill evidently used that event as a activity in his Wild West show then, as he went through Europe with his Wild West show. It was a moment not long after the battle at Little Bighorn when morale was perhaps kind of low among the troops, the federal troops, and this was something that kind of boosted morale and helped move the westward expansion forward even a little bit faster or more quickly, perhaps. At this location, you will also find the Immaculate Conception Catholic Church at this area called Montrose. There's a wonderful little cemetery there with it as well. And if you are going to go out there, have a good DeLorme atlas of the Sandhills and of Nebraska. You can get there on Hat Creek Road and easily from the west as well, but it is very, very remote. And it's a wonderful, serene, spiritual spot. Very little known, perhaps, in some circles, but it does have friends that maintain the church, and the church is open. It's free will, honor system. There's a sign-in book to sign in there, which is interesting to read who's been there and how they've found the place and where they have come from to get to this location. It's a small wood frame building with a nice stucco finish, and it seems to be in fairly good shape all the way around. There's a Friends of War Bonnet that are to the north of this, where the actual War Bonnet activity happened in the skirmish, and I think that they're also involved with a church. The Catholic Church, the Archdiocese, would probably be out of Grand Island that would manage this and take care of this, but it's my understanding that the Archdiocese out of Ardmore is a little bit closer physically and maybe has a little bit more hands-on involvement with this church. Another church is the Deer Creek Norwegian Church. It's a 140-year-old church near Holbrook, Nebraska, and the cemetery around it that gives you a sense of the community of church and cemetery at one location, and how that was very typical at the time. The gravestones in this particular cemetery at the Deer Creek Church have a lot of stones dating 1918, significant, of course, of the flu epidemic that came through the country at that time. But the pioneers that had settled here settled in Deer Creek in Furnace and Gosper counties in about 1875 or so. So this is a lovely little church in the Vale near Holbrook. And the church was dedicated in 1904. It is reminiscent of many rural churches, communities across the state working hard to save their little piece of heritage. And here are the folks that put that nomination together. And the Warren Opera House was our next location identified for hidden treasures. The Warren Opera House in Friend, Nebraska is a block long and a half a block deep. It's a wonderful 30,000 square foot building. Currently has retail stores at street level, and second story is being renovated and restored, rather, back to the original Opera House. It was built in 1935. The current owners are restoring the structure. That includes a restaurant and a lounge area that is open for business Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I know. They also have this very large reception room called the San Carlo Room, which I'm told has been rented out for all of the significant holidays and weekends for the next several years. So there certainly is a demand in that area for that kind of reception hall with those sorts of amenities. This is on the second story, where we have evidence of some of the woodwork and the huge windows within the second story area and the residences that were there when they built the building in 35. The Warren Opera House is one of 27 Nebraska opera houses that have been maintained today in exceptional condition, and it is only one of two with a solid horseshoe balcony. and I believe the other one might be the Love Larson in Fremont, I believe, with the horseshoe balcony on the second story. Within the third story, it would be. And also at this location, this front step is from the York Foundry, this iron step. And we're told that this was such a good stairway to the upstairs because, of course, you had to go outside the building to get upstairs for the opera side of things. And it was such a well-made building that they took a baby elephant up these steps. Of course, baby elephant's, what, probably 200 pounds? I don't know. A baby elephant up these steps to perform for something years and years and years ago. So. But if you get a chance to, your friend is not very far away. It's about 30 minutes, 35 minutes, and a nice little weekend jaunt. Our last hidden treasure is the Saints Philip and James School at St. James, Nebraska. This is a wonderful story that many of you have probably kept up with the local newspapers and with the magazines. It's a school that was, it's a stucco-styled school that was built in 1918. It's just north of Highway 12 in Cedar County. It is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It currently houses the St. James Marketplace. 5 women in the area decided that they were going to do something to save this old school because the town itself demographics had depleted it of population, basically, and it had been taken off the state map. So these gals decided that they were going to do something about it. They bought the school, and within a couple of years, they turned it into a marketplace where local people could sell their goods and their wares. The first year, they had about 16 people in the schoolroom itself set up to sell their baked goods and their canned goods and their afghans and their knitting. And from there, it expanded to, oh gosh, what did she say here? About 70 different vendors to this day. So St. James, Nebraska, you can see on the map there up of Highway 12. There, why not? Bow Valley, Newcastle. So that's a good, nice little drive up to Cedar County. And I know people in that area and from South Dakota and from Iowa take advantage of that. And so sometimes these places, we know they're in the state. We just don't always think about getting to them in a couple-hour drive to have fun at those places. These are the 5 gals that put it all together and made it happen. They're part of the faces of preservation of the state of Nebraska. So, you know, the building was declared surplus. It was going to be closed. It was probably going to fall into demolition by neglect. One of the worst things we can have happen with any of our unused school buildings or churches or barns or other public buildings and private buildings across the state. So that's my little presentation today on our Hidden Treasures Fading Places and our annual awards activity for Heritage Nebraska. We have at the back of the door our little sign up for membership. If you are not a member of Heritage Nebraska, please consider becoming one. We have an envelope back there with our address on it, and you can mail us your membership. We are an organization that is a citizens organization, nonprofit. We cannot do the things we do without your help and without membership. So we hope that you will consider that. We hope that this has been informational and educational for you today, and appreciate all of you coming here. Thank you. Questions? Mr. Ripley.